The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
Hail to the king, baby.
Boy! The plan is, kill the brain, and you kill the ghoul.
Welcome to hell.
I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Welcome to prime time.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the podcast In the Backseat. I am your humble host, Matthew A. Hutton IV. I'm joined today with...
Wayne Alexander III, Esquire, von Stappen. I don't know why I threw that little bit in the end. I don't know whether... I think I've been thinking about Christopher Plummer recently, and I think that's what it is. It's like, I know it's the Von Traps, but it's like von Stappen. I don't know, it just sounds really, really
I just like the,
aggressive.
The part of any word. Stab. In the name of love.
It's because it's... Did you ever play Medal of Honor back in the day on the PlayStation?
Yeah.
Because it was always certain ones, because they had a limited amount of vocabulary that they would use in it, because obviously it was quite a small game in comparison to what you get now, which is massive. And it would just be, Alarm! Or, but the one I always threw in was like, Häagen-Dazs!
Did you ever play it? It was Resident Evil 4. The one with
No,
with
I
Leon.
think that's...
Yeah.
Is that the one where it's in, like, it's Spain, it's Europe, it's Czech Republic, it's Poland,
it's some
it's
Europe one, yeah.
It's all of them.
But it was just that you reminded me that one of the villains on it, for some reason, they would say something, but it always sounded like they were saying Matador. Matador! And I was like, I'm going to shoot you in the face, doesn't matter what you do. Like, you can be a Matador all you like, you bastard.
He's been shooting some Spaniard in the face. He's just, he's been killing bulls, and Leon's a vegetarian, so...
You would be after all of what he's seen, I guess.
Oh, you would?
Okay.
You would? I probably mentioned it beforehand. Like a huge, like I was vegetarian a few years back, and obviously I still am. But yeah, just watching a guy in the back of a bus heading in like a high heat. It was like a heat wave like 2 years ago. And some guy was just making mad passionate love to this half roast chicken in a bag. It's just the sounds. It was like straight out of a horror film. And he's going. Oh my god, he just clearly was pissed as well, so he was like getting a gristly bit and it was his finger, and he just going like probably half expecting to like snap the marrow, and he's just trying to snap the bone in half and try and drink the marrow.
I don't even know what that is, but I'm gonna lick it anyway. Dad, get off the bus.
Like I don't want to sound like somebody's getting I don't want to sound like somebody's getting finger banged in the back of a bus. Some kind of half roast chicken from Tesco. Other supplies are available. But yeah, if that was it just completely threw me and going, oh like, no, that's it, I'm out. You know what, vegetarian for life. As he throws up some sort of V symbol and a gang sign in my hand, just go,
peace.
Vegetarian for life, y'all.
Vegetable rights and peace. No, I remember a similar sort of thing happened. It wasn't with food, mind you, but I remember when I was at uni, I had an exam the next day and I was knackered. And it was one of the finals.
You got finger banged in the back of a bus?
Well, yeah, this guy thought I was a chicken, so he started licking my bum hole, going, trying to suck the marrow out of my bone. No, I think you were there. No.
I was just watching, not that I smoke, just vaping in the corner, going, slower.
I like to watch.
Slower. No, don't look at me in the eye. Don't look at me in the eye.
No, look at me in the
Always. Don't just look at it, eat it.
No, pirouette. No, I was thinking, I'm too tired. I can't be fucking with this. And then I looked out the window, and this is going to make me sound really cruel, which I think last episode did as well, so you're welcome. I looked out the bus window as I was driving. I was going home, thinking, I'm not going to revise for this. I can't be arsed. And I saw this homeless man weeping in the doorway of a building, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to revise. I passed, and here I am. So I hope the homeless person's okay.
Is it going to be one of those ones that I'm not trying to be detrimental to people who are of no fixed abode? It's like one of those, like you hear those American TV shows, and that man grew up to be Joe Biden, or whatever grew up to be the President of the United States.
It was Donald Trump.
It was Donald Trump. He still had the...
He was only crying because he lost that chicken to that guy on the bus.
Well, he just wanted it more, didn't he?
There's ecstasy noises. God.
So, Mr. Matthew Sugarcane Hutton. And for anybody who's listening, I just made that up. I think I looked at some sort of nickname generator and it was Sugarcane. And then the other one for me was Unsmooth. It bears no reference or relevance to who we are as people. I am definitely not smooth though. I'm a big hairy fella.
It does say unsmooth though. So
unsmooth, but it could be. But it depends. if you've just freshly shaved and maybe the day after, you wouldn't be smooth. You'd be rough. Yeah. So I'm technically I don't know. It's a load of shit. I just made it up, but I just thought I would be sort of.
I am a sugar kid.
Yes, a sugar. Oh.
Yeah, I grew sentience, and then was riding a bus home once and saw a homeless man cry. So that's me up until now.
And at the moment of climax, he either exclaims one of two things: painting by numbers or sugarcane.
Sugarcane.
But yeah, it's almost like I kind of want RoboCop from RoboCop 2 because the villain's called Kane.
Oh yeah.
But just to get Peter Weller to voice Senator again. Sugarcane.
But to do it badly though, so every time he says it, he just goes sugarcane.
Work shed.
This always reminds work shed. This always reminds me of I bought there was a DVD collection of Monty Python, just the series, this Monty Python's Flying Circus, and I was watching it, and there was one episode where the BBC clearly didn't want them to do the joke they did because obviously this came out in the 70s, and it was basically Jesus Christ was being crucified on a telegraph pole. And I think it's the same one, but it may be a different thing because it started getting animated where this black thing grew on somebody's face. And I remember the original as a kid, it was a cancer. So he grew cancer on his face, but Michael Palin redubbed it, and you could tell he wasn't happy about it because he goes, and on his face grew gangrene. It was class.
Fucking gangrene.
Gangrene.
People don't have a gangrene.
Sugarcane.
So,
right.
Mr. Hutton, the third, fourth Esquire von Stappen, whatever. Why are we here today?
Well, today it's the in-betweeny shows, I guess, of the reviews anyway, in between those.
In-betweeny shows.
In-betweeny did. Anyway.
The betwixt shows, that's
the betwixt your cheeks shows. But yeah, I think we're really just going to discuss more of the talent behind films as well, rather than the films as a product, I guess. And we'd made a list of almost top 5. Well, what I made was actors. I've then made, in a blind panic, a list of directors as well, in case we have time. So what we're going to discuss is who are... I think this time round it was going to be top 5 male actors in horror. I don't know if you wanted... Because we're going to say the person's name and explain our working, I guess. And we'll go from there. So I don't know if you want to get the ball rolling on who your 5th place.
In no particular order. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to start off with one who I love so much that I've actually got him tattooed on the back of my leg, is Boris Karloff.
Nice.
So Boris Karloff, I think, from my memory, he had about 50 film credits before he then became Frankenstein's monster, and thus started an illustrious career. It's synonymous with horror. And he had openly admitted it was the best thing that ever happened to him. It was his best friend. As a result of him doing one movie, then just propelled him. And just he became one of Universal's biggest stars. And he was just a big, gentle giant, unassuming. Apparently he was in the canteen of the Universal Studios lot, done a bunch of movies, and somebody just went, I want him. I want him. I want that one. See that big fella over there? I want him. I want to make him scary. I want to make him just phenomenal. And this is based on, yes, his entire back catalogue, but for 2 films in particular for me, they're probably going to seem quite obvious, but it's not whenever it's right. Would be Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. Frankenstein sets the tone, sets it off, somebody messing with the natural order. And then the second one for me is more sort of like, just because you're scary doesn't mean that you're a monster. And he plays it so well, and so likable, and so... It's beautiful. And I'll openly admit this, because I'm quite a softie as it is, as much as I come across as a bit of a horrible bastard. There's a bit in Bride of Frankenstein that it manages, and we've talked about it beforehand, that juxtaposition of doing horror with something else. So you've got to break the pace. So one of them is, there's a lovely, sad, beautiful moment where a blind guy invites Frankenstein's monster, Boris Karloff, into his house, and he's sitting sort of putting him into bed. I think he's sort of like putting him to rest because obviously he's very tired, having fallen through like a windmill and being running away from people with flames and pitchforks, and he's thanking God. Not the religious thing, he's thanking God that he sent him a friend, and it's just beautiful. It just sets me off every single time, due to the fact that he doesn't see him as being a monster, he just sees him as another human being, another friend. And Karloff manages to sort of elevate what he did beforehand, and it's so deftly done, it's so beautiful. And also, I can't mention him without, this isn't sort of saying that he's not on my top 5, but he was great friends with Bela Lugosi, and Bela got into a bit of trouble, and Boris Karloff managed to like fight his corner and look after him, and they remained like the best of friends. And I think that's really beautiful. Like Dracula and Frankenstein just sort of hand in hand, sort of making a way through life, and I think that's just absolutely beautiful. But yeah, Boris Karloff is one of my favourite ones, and it's just synonymous with that character.
Was that the moment then during The Blind Man where you thought, yes, like you already liked him?
Yeah.
But that moment, was that the turning point where you think he's now in my top?
It's probably the reason why. It's the bit where he realises that like it's him as Dr. Pretorius, the bride, and him, and he realises that we shouldn't be, and then sort of self-sacrifice, he then destroys everybody else that shouldn't be, the horrible doctor, the bride, and himself. And it's just the whole idea that he becomes the hero at the end of the second movie, and that's so well done. And there's been other people that have tried to be, I'm not trying to be negative to anybody who then subsequently went on to play the Mummy. They played different versions of it, but for me, probably for a lot of people, he's the iconic one. Like I've had pensioners come up to me and like point at the back of my leg and go, "Is that Boris Karloff?" And clearly it has like fond memories for them, and I think it's still very affecting to this day, and it's still fantastic. As a result of working with the likes of James Whale and everything else, it's so 2 magical films that aren't scary. I think sort of very much back then it would have been terrifying, but sort of the things that we're now currently exposed to and everything else, it's not as punchy, but it's still as powerful as far as that's concerned.
But that's the starting point though, isn't it? So everything grew from that. So that's no longer scary because it was at one point, and we had to go more and more each and every time. So without that, you wouldn't have anything. And correct me if I'm wrong, I've read Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein is the entire story. Unless I'm very much mistaken, because I did read it. It was when I was way back in college, and I'm quite old now.
I'd be lying if I said I've read the book. I've been to 1, possibly 2 different lectures. So much of a nerd I am, openly and very happily so. There's one about Mary Shelley Wollstonecraft. It's quite an interesting story as well, because I found out in this sort of, not to try and go on too much, I'll try and reel it back in. But there was Mary Shelley Wollstonecraft, Shelley himself, Lord Byron, and James Polidori. So Polidori wrote a version of Vampire. Lord Byron wrote some stuff that I'm not sure off the top of my head I can remember. And then Mary Shelley Wollstonecraft wrote Frankenstein, and they stayed in this villa under this huge pillow of smoke where this volcano went off, and they made a movie. It's got Alex Winter from Bill and Ted in it, and he plays James Polidori, and he was like the physician to Lord Byron. Anyway, so they basically stayed in this villa during the summer that wasn't a summer because of all the volcano smoke. Basically made the summer really dark and miserable and horrific and horror-like, which is really, really cool. But they all just told these stories, and Mary Shelley told her story about Frankenstein's monster, the modern Prometheus, and little did I know as well, it was all based on her own personal experiences, that she tried to have several children and she had miscarriages, and it was her transcribing her own sort of experiences into a horror novel.
True?
Yeah, it's true.
That's
so
amazing.
it's all about
Do you know,
creating something from nothing.
I heard, right, and this is, I'm not getting in any way, shape or form slightly political, except this one thing that a lot of people say, that they don't believe Mary Shelley actually wrote it. They thought it was Lord Byron. Fuck off. Okay? Absolute bullshit.
I think Byron was very sort of, he was the things like that.
He had the name.
He's
at the time. Though,
he was the fuckboy of that day and age, and to the point of where when James Polidori wrote Vampire, they published it under Lord Byron's name, I believe.
Yeah.
So whenever initially,
I think that's where the line gets a little blurred as well.
But yeah, that's it. So I find that the more I've learned about Frankenstein and everything else, and I do want to read the book, because it sort of it behooves me a little bit.
It's honestly really good.
I think it's something to say, and you could, same with any horror film that we've talked about so far, you could just take it at face value, but there's a lot more to it. And the more I found out about her, the more I found it really, really fascinating. And obviously, it's everybody knows who's Frankenstein's monster.
Bringing it back there, you say Universal Monsters, you don't think of Dracula. You do eventually. You think immediately of Boris Karloff's Frankenstein.
He's got that sort of stoic face, and it's just amazing. And he's such a lovely fella. He's the voice. He does the voiceover work for The Grinch Who Stole Christmas that came out in the 70s or 80s.
Is that him?
That's Boris Karloff, yeah.
Get in, that's class.
But it's just so cool and so brilliant, and there's a lot of people will owe their career or their love of horror to Boris Karloff, and it comes back to him. Guillermo del Toro puts his hands up and just says, Frankenstein's monster, that's where I went. I love horror. I'm in. And I don't know whether he would ever do a Frankenstein movie, because he possibly thinks he would never. He's a director I feel as though would be safe hands for a lot of remakes or reboots, or an adaptation, as we talked about in a previous chat, where you'd be like, yeah, totally makes sense. He would put the time and effort and the thought into making it beautiful, but also scary as well. But yeah,
alter it enough as well. It would be the same, but in a different way. Which is, if you haven't listened to our remake show, go back and listen to it. We put the rules on what makes a good remake. He would do all of that.
And I think and it's quite interesting, the backstory behind Frankenstein, but obviously Boris Karloff as well. Just a really, really nice top fella who just sort of became famous and became synonymous with horror.
Arguably the face of horror, when you think about it, which sounds horrible. He's got a nice face.
Yeah, he's just a really sort of lovely, just sort of quite tall, towering man. He's just very sort of quite meek, but he's obviously done. He did The Mummy, because he played two Universal monsters. He played Frankenstein's monster, and he also played The Mummy. But he did a lot of movies opposite Bela Lugosi, and they just played off each other really, really well. Well known fact, I believe Bela was buried in his Dracula garb, I think against his wishes. But he just has this very thick Hungarian accent, and because of that accent, he didn't get offered as many jobs because he wasn't able to sort of change his voice, etc. But I think of the two of them very much, and it sort of it warms the swinging brick where my heart should be, that the two of them were really good friends.
I got visuals of that for some reason.
With his arm around him. It's like Father Ted and Father Stone, and he's just got him in a bit of a headlock and go on. Oh, he's counting the days down until he can say his old Father Ted did this and Father Ted Crowley did that. But yeah,
I love Bela.
But yeah, Boris Karloff for me.
Nice.
I wanted to start from. It wasn't the first monster or the first horror movie I watched, but it's probably the one that I carry the most the most love for, because it's just fucking brilliant, isn't it? It's just
it is so good.
My favourite bit is when he chucks that kid in the lake. Like don't get me wrong, he just chucks her in, and then she, from memory, it's been a while since I watched it, she immediately dies.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, she was wearing them stone clogs that they did back near Castle Frankenstein. Like, what?
All that lead in their diet.
Straight to the bottom. Lead paint, delicious but deadly. But yeah, just fucking boom, she's dead, and that's it. All they go looking for. It couldn't have been an accident. They just assume it's the big Taran fella. He's literally like a day old. But yeah. Well, if he can, baby's first. Thickle, I don't know. Sickle, I don't know. I don't know what thickle.
Thickle. Come to the podcast in the backseat where you'll hear about dying children.
It's a baby with a ball peen hammer. Big like a modern day Baby's Day Out, and it's a baby running about with a ball peen hammer, taking out Joe Mantegna.
Yeah.
He's the voice of, correct me if I'm wrong, Fat Tony in The Simpsons.
Yeah. What's a truck?
Johnny Tight Lips, what do you see? I see a lot of things. What I tell the doctor, I'd say, tell the doctor go suck a lemon.
Suck a lemon.
It says, what would your mother say about it? Who says I have a mother?
I feel like I need to do the Bill Hicks disclosure when we talk about such dark things like this. Like, we are available for children's parties.
It's just a ride.
If you don't want to go down the traditional clown route.
Washing the blood out of that clown suit, man. It's a nightmare. You know how difficult it's been since lockdown to be able to get that to the dry cleaners. You've got to drop it off at the front. You can't tell if it's jam.
Hide from your neighbours.
Yeah. You gotta jam them in a slow cooker.
Serving the people as you're passing, but you gotta throw them because socially distance.
It's like a bowl full of chili. You just slide it across the table. It's like shuffleboard, but deadlier. So we're getting off a little bit more. It's not patricide. It's not matricide. It's not regicide.
It's rockicide.
It's infanticide, which is like the worst death metal band name ever. It's like so bad that you can't even read it. What's that? You gotta go squint your eyes. It's like a magic eye test. Sand. Oh, it's my favourite band, Infanticide.
Infanticide. It sounds like something, I don't know, you treat on your rash. Like.
And I go, your toilet giving you jip, can't get those clogs away? Use Infanticide. Now with added bleach.
Bang! And the dirt is gone.
I'm Barry Scott.
I don't know how to control the volume of my voice.
So, getting back to it, who's your number 5? What was it? What was the what was it? Number 4, number 5 for you?
Oh
number
yeah,
5?
That took me a while to get. I was like,
what was top of the pops?
Enjoy the song. Yeah, I think it was something like that. there was notes in it. There was a chord used.
So
I have actually
5.
ranked mine, and I feel quite bad now because you said in no particular order, but mine are in order.
You're out of order. This whole course is out of order.
You can't handle the order. My number 5. I actually went quite old as well, to be honest with you, in a very similar sort of way as to what you've picked. It was a Universal monster. Mine wasn't a Universal, but actually a little bit later. Hammer horror. Christopher Lee.
Tight.
Need I say? He is, in my opinion, the best voice.
He's pouring honey in your ear, but it's more like acid, or a really strong alkali. It still does the same thing apparently.
Well, yeah.
Acid gets a bad trip. Alkali do the same thing. It'll fuck you clean up.
It hides in the dark, waiting to strike like a right old bastard. But
Kato.
yeah, no, Christopher Lee.
Where did he come from next?
Kato. No, Christopher Lee, and not only just for Dracula, because his Dracula is perfect. I mean, arguably Bella's Dracula might be more iconic, because I think Christopher Lee's Dracula takes a lot from it. He made him very tall and very English in a weird way. He dropped the accent a little bit more, despite the fact he is Transylvanian. But the film that launched him straight into my top 5 was actually The Wicker Man. Which, if I'm not mistaken, and he will be listening, my dad's favourite film of all time, or it used to be anyway. But I used to study it. I talk a lot about myself because I'm so fucking cool.
Just as long as it's not in the third person, Sugarcane.
Sugarcane went to college, and Sugarcane thought
Sugarcane doesn't archaeology.
Like this. No, yeah. When I was at college, I studied it was media, English, and out of nowhere archaeology. Because as a child I wanted to do paleontology and nowhere did that, so I thought archaeology kind of similar, just a few million years out. But I got very interested in sort of Celtic mythology, traditions, all of that sort of thing as well. And there's a lot of that present in The Wicker Man, so it's a very personal sort of thing why I like it. It's also a beautiful film. Edward Woodward, fantastic, despite his name. Set pieces are just The Wicker Man itself is just a beautiful icon as well. And at the end, where they've got Edward Woodward in the Wicker Man, spoilers, burning to death, you've got Christopher Lee singing the oldest song that's still in existence as well, apparently, Summer is a Cummering. And the way he's doing it, because Christopher Lee for some reason always has to sing. Yeah, his voice is lovely, but don't sing. God. But anyway, he's burning a guy to death. Well, jauntily swinging his arm around. Summer is a comet. It's like, oh, you evil bastard. It's just, you get some serious, because every time, it was yourself even, and a lot of other people told me to watch the likes of Midsummer. They would always compare it. They would say it's like The Wicker Man on steroids, or like just much. And I absolutely agree. It is. It's just a lot more visceral Wicker Man.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of because you don't see any. There's no horrific murders in The Wicker Man. There's nothing overtly horrific about it. It just makes you feel unease. I only watched it in all honesty about 4 or 5 years ago. After going, it's because there used to be the Lytton Phil in Newcastle would do lectures. And also, so would Newcastle University would do lectures about certain things. One of them was about the one I mentioned beforehand about Mary Shelley Wollstonecraft, and then there's also one about folk horror. And the 3 ones that they mentioned is Wicker Man, Blood and Satan's Claw, and the Witchfinder General. But Wicker Man, I think, arguably for me, is the better. It's possibly the best folk horror. It is the one at which everything is kind of measured against. And it's fucking hard.
Yeah, it is.
How are you going to top Christopher Lee, Edward Woodward, bunch of creepy kids going round a phallus? Maypole. What? It's meant to represent the male erection, and they just say that in the classroom. You just go, whoa.
Well, with Lee, because I mean, The Wicker Man's the main reason, in my opinion, but then there is Dracula as well, and I don't think anybody. Because Bela Lugosi is Dracula, but I think Christopher Lee is the voice of Dracula, if you know what I mean. If you were to combine those two, I'm wrong. I prefer, and this is, well, obviously he's on my list where Bela Lugosi isn't. I prefer his Dracula, I'll be honest.
No, not at all. It's all a matter of opinion as to what sort of draws you into it. I think you're right in the fact that Christopher Lee adds that towering, imposing figure. Yeah. He's a little bit more kind of charismatic, less, arguably, and I don't mean this in sort of in any way negative, less foreign. He's more familiar. You're more drawn in. He's more. I think he was more kind of charismatic and sexual to a certain extent. Because the whole point of Dracula, in my opinion, is you want to become friends with him. You want to get to know him, despite the fact that he feasts on human blood and turns into. Wolves and wolves, and the bats, the creatures of the night, and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's different spins on the same character.
Yeah,
and he's done his own adaptation, and it's that for me. It was my first memory of horror. It's like when he bares his teeth, and it's just that blood, and the blood's, but it's so the blood's so out there. It's more. It's
crimson.
It's more. It doesn't look real. It looks more. not cartoonish. It's more hyper real. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a term.
Hammer was really good for that. Their use of colour was incredible on all of their movies as well, like Bride of Frankenstein and everything, where she's bathing in an entire blood bath almost as well. But I had honourable mentions as well, but I've realised that as inevitably as we do manage to talk a lot about very little. So I've noticed the time, so I'll probably not mention all the honourable mentions. The ones I wanted to link were Peter Cushing, who didn't make it in my top 5. Incredible. The two together. The Cush Bros.
The Cush.
But in the same instance, because you pointed out that Christopher Lee made Dracula sexy, and that's kind of the point of vampires. Another sexy vampire who was also on my honourable mention was Chris Sarandon from Fright Night. And
yes,
Roddy McDowall, who plays a very Peter Vincent as well. Just for entirely the movie of Fright Night, which is just a beautiful send-up of the Bela Lugosi style Dracula, which in itself has been enhanced by Christopher Lee. It's a whole thread. Christopher Lee is just the tippy top of this amazing bubble of incredibleness.
Because it's Jerry
Dandridge.
Jerry Dandridge, like the least vampire like name you could possibly think of, and then but obviously he's very
hot as fuck. Like, yeah,
he's hot. He seems to be constantly licking his lips. He's got a lot of lip gloss on or some sort of Vaseline, just in. So very good, just drawing you in and going. But yeah, he was in a. I think Guy Ritchie's doing a movie about it. It's like the battalion of like ungentlemanly conduct, and basically during the Second World War, him and a bunch of other guys basically did a load of horrific things to the Axis, and were very, very successful in what they did. So I think they've decided to do a movie about that kind of battalion or that regiment of ungentlemanly conduct. But like, imagine that, like living through that and then becoming a horror icon on the other end of it.
He was.
But yeah,
he was in
Sleepy
Hollow as well, wasn't he? I'm sure. At the very beginning, he's the judge that sends.
You could be right. I think it's Tim Burton's a massive horror fan. Even like Frankenweenie, like every dog in it that's been sort of like, or every animal that's been brought back is a reference to Universal monsters. Even like the invisible fish, I think the fish turns invisible. So it's the Invisible Man. Frankenweenie's Frankenstein's monster. You've got the dog next door is Bride of Frankenstein. And you've got the creature and a bunch of other ones. But yeah, that's I think Christopher Lee is in that. You could be 100% correct.
I'm sure he's the one, because I remember he does get to say Sleepy Hollow, and I was like, oh Lee, and I jizzed in my pants. I just ate a grape.
I just
Yeah.
But yeah, so what should we? So that's Christopher Lee. I get it. There might be some ones we're not necessarily disagree with, being going, you know that one where somebody cooks you dinner and it's crap, and you say, that was
interesting.
That was interesting.
Like a fart in the mouth.
I'm going to try and think of what I'm going to do next. So the next one, I'm going to try and go with kind of just possibly voice again. My next one on the list is Jeffrey Combs.
Oh, interesting. No, I agree.
Ew. No, you don't do that to me. But Jeffrey Combs, he's just done so many kind of like fun roles. Stuart Gordon obviously did Reanimator movies. Obviously, he's possibly one of the best bits about Frighteners.
Yeah.
He's got like the hair flick, Nazi youth haircut to the one side. He's wearing the lead vest and everything else, and he's possibly the best thing about the movie.
Yeah.
He's just clearly having so much fun with it, and it's that voice, or that smile, or those eyes. It's just a guy who you kind of, because in Reanimator he's a dick, but you kind of like him, and I think that's fun, and I think he's bought into that, and I really just enjoy his spin on any movies that he's in. But yeah, Frighteners for me, he's phenomenal, and that's just so much fun. And I went to see, there was an H.P. Lovecraft night, so there was Reanimator, and then there was In the Mouth of Madness. But Jeffrey Combs for me, phenomenal horror actor, and he's just loads of fun. I think you're in for a fun ride whenever you watch a movie with him in it. And I think he did some voiceover work for a lot of like cartoons and stuff as well, as far as I'm aware. Not to the extent of, say, Mark Hamill, but still, he's got a very... You're going, it's Jeffrey Combs, isn't it? But yeah, he's the one sort of... I won't sort of get into too much with him, but I think Jeffrey Combs is a phenomenal horror actor. I didn't want to be not... It's not a case of not saying that he's not obvious. There's loads of ones that would be sort of like, oh, let me just go bum, 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 and do these ones. But I thought I'd go a little bit left field with it, so I went with Jeffrey Combs, and he's just phenomenal. I love him. And if he's listening, I am gonna touch your hair.
Oh no, I agree. 'Cause I remember going to that. That was the last time I actually went to the cinema. Sorry, as well.
Mm-hmm. He's generally the best thing about any movie he's in. It's like him and Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
So Sam Rockwell, basically, in any film that he's in, the best thing about the movie is Sam Rockwell. And it's like he's the best thing about Galaxy Quest. Even though he's an extra in it and he dies, and I died in episode. He's the best thing about the movie. He's in Seven Psychopaths. He's the best thing about the movie. He's the best thing about the 3 Billboards out of Ebbing, Missouri. Yeah, but he's just phenomenal. But yeah, Jeffrey Combs, he's generally the best thing about any movie that he's in, even if it's quite small. Yeah. He's fucking brilliant.
You've got to think as well, because Frighteners features Michael J. Fox as well, and I 100% agree. Combs is what makes it. Michael J. Fox is an incredible actor. So to surpass somebody like that, to be the reason why you're watching it, that's incredible.
Because I think Michael J. Fox is why sort of people initially come in. So it's like people going on an airline. I come for the prices, I stay for the leg room. And they're going, I came for Michael J. Fox, I stayed for the Jeffrey Combs.
You're right.
But he's just loads of fun in it. I think that's brilliant. He's just... Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say, in my humble opinion, that he surpasses him. I just think he's the funnest bit about it. Whenever he's in that particular, like in a scene, he's the most funny. Going, I hope there's more Jeffrey Combs in this.
Yeah. No, I'm sure he's in, and I've not seen it. And every time I'm on UK Netflix, for those who aren't listening in the UK, I keep seeing advertised Would You Rather. I'm sure he's in that, and I've been very tempted to watch it.
I believe he is. Yeah. But yeah, he's done absolutely loads of stuff. Frighteners, yep. Would You Rather. He's in Fortress with Christopher Lambert. Which I believe is also Stuart Gordon as well.
Alright.
I could be wrong. Yes, Stuart Gordon, director of Reanimator, did a movie with Christopher Lambert, Fortress, with the Intestinator and the Kurtwood Smith, whom I adore, Clarence Bottom. Like, he's the only guy I know who's going to make the name Clarence sound hard as fuck.
It's true, actually, yeah, that's a good point.
Can you fly, Bobby? What do you mean, just gets fucked into the back of this thing. But yeah, Jeffrey Combs is fucking brilliant. Kurtwood Smith.
Nice.
I wish he did more horror, because I think he's just brilliant. I believe he's also in the Creepshow TV show.
Oh, nice. I need to watch that. Because I loved the movies they did in the 90s. I think they were great.
But he's done a load of basically he plays Brainiac. He's Brainiac in the DC universe.
Nice.
And I get it. That's the face, that's the voice I hear whenever I think of Brainiac. Yeah. And if they're ever going to do a live action version, I would love to see him remain as that character. That would be
amazing.
So to summarize, to conclude, Jeffrey Combs, go on, one up me, top me, go on.
Oh,
what you got, Hatch?
Well, to be honest, because I am doing mine in order of how much I actually do like them. So my number one's going to be, if this person's in it, I will definitely watch it. Well, all of these people really. So my next one, I'm not going to talk an awful lot about the next one because, and I'm going to give it away here. You know, if you've listened to last episode, you know why. I love Freddy Krueger. I think he's one of the most iconic creatures in anything. He's amazing. And of all the slashers, because I haven't got the likes of Nick Castle in it, but of all the slashers, Robert Englund brings his character to it because he talks for a start, and he enjoys what he does. Everything we said last episode, I really don't want to labour it.
Yeah, just a little hark back to your previous episode was a review of Nightmare on Elm Street, which is, I think I've enjoyed it more now as a result of revisiting it and sort of taking the time to absorb it rather than just to let it wash over me. I think it's important to kind of do that, especially with somebody who spends so much time and effort. And something so game-changing as well is Nightmare. It's fucking brilliant. Robert Englund, you could spend all day saying talk about all the movies that he's done over the years.
Just everything he's in. He's in like one episode of Supernatural, and when I seen him appear, I was so happy. And he's in it for like 2 minutes, and it's my favourite episode because Robert Englund's in there and kills one of the characters so they can talk to death. It's just amazing. But I used to watch V. I don't want to go into TV too much, but obviously that's where he started out. It's where he cut his teeth mostly. And
Robert Englund started for me. Galaxy of Terror.
I've not seen that, you know. I need to watch it.
It's on for any of our listeners. It is available on Prime.
Nice.
It is. I think it's also on Netflix, possibly. But Galaxy of Terror was released like 2 years after Alien, and I think they tried to capitalize on that whole space one. But for better or for worse, it does look like it was filmed 20 years before Alien came out.
Fair.
There's a lot of like very badly placed mustaches, and I love that about it. It's a fun ride, but Robert Englund's in it, and he's like a little young whippersnapper in it called Ranger. I'm just going, fuck, it's fucking Robert Englund. It's in Galaxy of Terror, and he's the best thing about the movie. I'm just, same it. I just wanted more of him.
Yeah.
More. Give me more, Robert. Bobby. I didn't realise this. A little connection. He does the voice of Scarecrow in the Injustice games for the DC universe.
Does he? Ooh.
Robert Englund is the voice of Scarecrow.
That's sick.
Makes total sense.
It does when you consider Batman the
what
Arkham.
he did.
Yeah, the Arkham series with the
Because
glove.
the whole idea that he's a terrifying monster makes total sense. If he ever did that,
bravo.
Nicely done. He's also going to be in the new series of Stranger Things.
Oh. Yeah, that's going to be good. Because of Robert Englund, like Jesus. But yeah, like
the moistness.
You go for the Stranger Things. You're going to stay for the Robert Englund now, though. Do you know what I mean? Like he's that reason. But likewise,
smoking tabs. I hope he's smoking tabs. I just for whatever reason he just looks. Imagine he just looks really sinister smoking a tab and just going. I think I've never smoked a day in my entire life. Kind of want to have a tab.
But no, he's also in Wishmaster, and he's brilliant in it. Like, he's not the antagonist, which is a rarity. That in itself's a love letter, though, as well, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Andrew Divoff, Robert Englund, Reggie Bannister,
Ted Raimi.
Ted Raimi. Yeah, it's just loads of fun. What else I was going to say? Robert Englund is in Urban Legends.
Yeah.
He's arguably almost like a similar role where he's like a teacher in it, where he talks about urban legends. It's I think Mikey likes it. But that's really, really cool. I love a little cameo, and it elevates that movie by him being in it. And he's not trying to play the character of. He's not trying to do a spin on Freddy. He's just being like an authority. And who better to be an authority on horror or urban legends than Frederick Krueger?
Exactly. But yeah, that'll be the last, because we did a whole episode on it, I guess, because that's the entire reason why he's in the list. He himself as an actor is incredible, but his Freddy is what? That's the moment I thought yes.
I think he's watching somebody enjoy the job, and then it comes across. God, like it's probably not see it as being work. Probably yes, it is a paycheck and everything else, but he's having a blast, and that comes across on the screen, just going, I'm in for the ride.
I just finished watching Freddy's Dead yesterday. Again, last episode I mentioned that every time I watch the first one, I have to watch them throughout. And Freddy's Dead for me is one of my favourites because Freddy's having the most fun in it throughout the whole thing. He's playing video games. He smashes. What's his name, man? He's Captain Jack Sparrow.
Johnny Depp.
He smashes Johnny Depp in the face with a skillet, which I thought was a nice little cameo that he came back to do that. He's like, "What do you want?" It looks like a frying pan and an egg. Just to annoy my partner.
Is that Jack Sparrow?
Jack Sparrow.
He's doing the Sparrow.
You think you're in a nightmare? You are in one. I don't know where I was going with that. About dreaming,
Just in every
Sammy.
sense with you, Sammy. Help yourself. Fuck.
Parlay.
I think I was going to do my next one.
Yeah.
I'll not get into this one too much as well, but arguably one of the hardest working men in horror, Reggie Bannister.
Nice.
Phantasm, I think we should definitely, I'm going to stamp it. I think we should do one on Phantasm. But yeah, Reggie Bannister,
Nice.
I think for me, another one, hardest working man in horror is, he turns up in Wishmaster, he's in Phantasm the whole way throughout, and he's just fun. And I think he sort of managed to carve himself out a career by just, being really likable. And this isn't any way a dig at Reggie Bannister. It's the whole idea that somebody can be iconic as far as horror is concerned without being the sensual, sexy man.
Yeah.
And he's just fucking cool as. And I think that's part of him. Was he not driving like an ice cream truck in Phantasm, playing some sort of folk music with some guy and his little brother, and then
He's completely bald with the side hair, and it's somehow he's still the coolest fucking guy in the world.
He's walking around with that was it like a double barreled shotgun? Like a couple of shotguns tied together.
He's got the four. Yeah, God. There's so many references in that. Cause I think that's the third one where if you look in the background, there's jars of formaldehyde and brain tissue, and one of them's got John Carpenter written on, the other one's Sam Raimi, and then also later on he has a chainsaw fight with someone, which is very.
Oh yeah, because that'll be like Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. That'll have the chainsaw fight in it. But yeah, Reggie Bannister, absolutely love him. Really cool guy. Very hard working. And I just love him. He's just got fucking Reggie Bannister. There he is.
Honestly, and
I think
this is the main reason why we're picking these people, in my opinion, anyway. But if you found out Reggie Bannister was in an upcoming horror film not linked to Phantasm in any way, you 100% would go and see it for that reason alone.
It's got Reginald Bannister in it. He's just cool. But I love him, and I don't know whether he has a cameo in Bubba Hotep, which is also directed by Don Coscarelli.
Oh, I'm not sure.
But yeah, Bubba Hotep. That's a fun one as well.
Likewise, though,
So
Angus
good.
Scrim, the tall man, as well. If you found out he was in anything, because he actually did quite a lot in the background, he was also a bit of a voice actor. He's amazing. But the two of them together, they're lovely.
Because you've got that sort of like lovely, quite likable. He ends up being sort of very like a working man trying to just survive during all the shit going on with all these they're basically Jawas, but they're not Jawas. Jawas, so you've got a hearse, you've got a big lanky fella,
And people in gas masks as well. For some reason,
but it's just brilliant. It just sort of goes that way of like, I suppose I don't even know if you'd class it as being like a slasher. And I think it's almost like to a certain extent where it's like a precursor to Nightmare on Elm Street, because it's almost like a dream state to go off into this other kind of dimension, and it just takes it going. All right, so we've got the tall man with the booming voice scaring kids and chasing through a mausoleum / crypt, and all of a sudden, some other dimension. What the is going on here? What is happening? But yeah, Reggie Bannister,
I think
phenomenal. And I think we should definitely do Phantasm after we've done the Rising of the Deep.
You definitely hit on why he's also. It's because he doesn't try to play it any other way. He knows he is kind of just the everyman. So play it that way. And he did.
So I think he's got like a check shirt, long sleeve flannel,
his
like undershirt,
ponytail. Oh, Reggie, man, you're killing me. I love him.
But yeah, it's just brilliant. It's so much fun.
If he's listening, I would. But yeah.
One day it's gonna happen to me. That being said, I'm 35 years old and I've managed to hold onto my hair longer than anybody else in my family.
Cool.
Everybody else is just proper bald. Sorry, Scott, if you're listening. But yeah, everybody else is. Scott's my brother, by the way. But yeah, I've managed at 35 years old, still hanging on to it. Gonna take the wins. This day and age. So who's your next one?
Yeah, next one, and I can't really talk about this one for an awful lot because there's only one film that has elevated him. But in terms of horror, if he's in a lot of other things that aren't quite horror and some of the schlocky style horrors. But Rutger Hauer.
Oh, Snake.
Is he on yours?
Yeah.
Is he?
No. I'm just sitting thinking, why didn't I think of Rutger Hauer? I've got sneaking suspicions that I know what movie you're talking about.
The Hitcher. For that alone, I just think his performance, he is just so imposing throughout. And there's this one scene where he's sat in the diner in the Hitcher, and is it Jim Halsey or Jim Halsey? I can't remember. He's sat opposite him, and Jim's got this gun that he gave him as a gift. And Rutger looks under, as he's pointing the gun, under the table that they're at, and he says, "Your gun's not loaded." And Jim's like, "Oh yeah, you want to try that?" And he pulls it like a finger gun. He says, "But this one is underneath the table as well." Jim pulls the trigger as he bangs, and it obviously there's no bullets in it. It starts clicking, and Rutger Hauer's face at that point, like, there's just so much going on. Like, what's his deal in that movie? Why is he doing what he's doing? Is he already dying? He just wanted to go out on a Grand Theft Auto style binge of chaos. Like, it doesn't matter. That's the point. He just did. And he's just...
Oh, it's... who would you say is the name of the actor?
Oh, no, it's the character's actor, Jim Halsey or Jim Halsey. I can't remember the main character.
It's not... Jim Halsey, C. Thomas Howell.
Nice, yeah. He's very good as well. Like, I've not seen him in anything else, but...
I'm going to have to rewatch this. It's got Jeffrey DeMunn, Jennifer Jason Leigh, C. Thomas Howell, and Rutger Hauer. It's just... I told you about this. I don't know if I told you about this in a previous cast. But Sam Elliott and Terence Stamp were offered the role of John Ryder.
Oh.
Terence Stamp would have been quite cool. Sam Elliott apparently was so terrifying that the producer, whenever they did the auditions, was afraid to go back to his car. And I think it would have been straight horror.
Yeah.
Like a cat and mouse, just straight horror. Whereas I think John Ryder's quite, or Rutger Hauer's character is quite likable, but obviously you know that there's a malicious intent in there. But based on that film alone, he's fucking brilliant. Like, I haven't watched that in years, and and possibly my mum and my stepdad will probably listen to this at some point. But the two of them had an argument because he wanted to watch The Hitcher. And just for a little bit of background information, obviously I'm from Northern Ireland. My stepdad Ray is a Geordie, born and raised in like a biker and walker in Wallsend and all that kind of stuff. And so he's sitting having a bit of an argument, a bit of back and forth with my mum because he's wanting to watch The Hitcher, and my mum's like trying to cook dinner or have a bit of a chat with him. He's just going, "I'm trying to watch this film," and they're going, "But you've seen it like 30 times beforehand." No, but it's proper good. Just go like this whole back and forth based on The Hitcher, and he's just absolutely brilliant in it. It's just kind of like he's so fantastic. It's a bit where he's driving and C. Thomas Howell's following that car, and then John Ryder just amazed in the back of the station wagon, like the teddy bear, and the rest of the family just going like, what? Because he's just fucked him out of the car earlier on in the movie, and going, it's just, he's managed to get rid of him. He shook him. He's got rid of him. He's got away from Rutger Hauer, and then all of a sudden, fuck. Yeah, that's it. So good.
There's a lot that goes on. Like, obviously, he manages to down a helicopter and everything, which you would think if anybody else,
I forgot about that.
Anybody else, you'd be like, how did he do that? Because I'm sure he uses a handgun. Rutger Hauer could do it. Too right.
So like
totally believable.
It's like Chuck Norris doing like the whole. He just pointed his finger at a Messerschmitt and shouted "bang" and the plane went down. That's silver. And
nobody's denying that. You know, Rutger Hauer as an actor is incredible in anything he is, but I wouldn't really class Blade Runner as like a horror. But his Tears in the Rain speech, which he ad-libbed apparently, is one of the best quotes in all of cinema. So that in itself is a testament to how amazing he is as an actor.
Agreed, yeah. I totally agree with you that the fact that it's so It's just fucking
There's so
brilliant.
much going on in that
It's
one
just so
scene.
well.
Like, oh.
And I would maybe argue to say that the bit where he's chasing him is horror, but obviously he's kind of losing his mind because he's dying.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that whole bit. It's sort of like cat and mouse, because like one's so massively overpowered, and the other one's kind of like the massive underdog in Deckard.
Good movie as well.
But yeah, it's phenomenal movie. But yeah, I would agree that that's a Rutger Hauer's film.
There'll be another
based
one.
on one film alone.
Exactly, which is incredible. So that's why, and that's to propel him. He's my third favourite. He's the bronze medal on one film alone. Like that's incredible, and it is a film I want to review at some point as well, as long as you're happy to do so. Mm-hmm. So I won't go on about it an awful lot more. And I've noticed the time.
No, agreed. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of the next ones that I have, and you're probably going to hate me for this one. So I'm going to go on. I'm going to kind of like, this isn't in order, like I mentioned beforehand. So I've covered Boris Karloff, Jeffrey Combs, Reggie Bannister, Donald Pleasance.
Nice.
I think he has the highest amount of horror movie titles to his. So his catalogue of work alone is worth a note. Regardless of I'm not saying that he's bad in any movies that he's in. I'm not. He's generally brilliant in it. His voice. I think he's even on our little bit at the start of every episode.
Yeah. Was it
the blackest eyes,
the
devil's eyes. That is phenomenal.
Apparently that was ad-libbed
so
as
good.
well. Apparently he just come up with it on the spot.
But like Donald Pleasance just done so many horror films. He's also in Prince of Darkness.
Yes. Is the priest.
Yes. So obviously he's been used to a certain extent in Halloween. Obviously he was in Prince of Darkness. He also did a lot of other movies. Played fucking Blofeld in James Bond.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just absolutely phenomenal based on the work that he's done, and obviously Dr. Loomis.
His Loomis to the Michael. You've got Michael, who's just a faceless walking wall of death, and you've got Loomis, who is the opposite. He's the character. He's the shining beacon of hope, almost, which is odd because he's this baldy old guy in a Mac.
Yeah, he was born in Nottinghamshire.
Was he?
Worksop.
Nice.
I always forget that he's British. I just think, he's one of these American actors who's phenomenal at doing voices, and he's absolutely brilliant in Halloween and basically a lot of other movies that he does. He's got that really sort of understated voice.
Escape from New York, President Dr. Loomis was just great.
I forgot. Yes, he's the president, isn't he? But yeah, Donald Pleasance, just due to his work, his back catalogue. 1919 he was born. Like,
Jesus,
that's a lot of work.
He would have been over 100
he's
now if he was still around.
Yeah,
Jeez.
absolutely brilliant. I think I could be wrong. Anybody listening to our podcast, drop us a message or drop us anything basically to say at Podcast in the Backseat on Instagram. I repeat, Podcast in the Backseat. If there's anything we've got wrong, but as far as I'm aware, he had the highest amount of horror titles to his name. I think there was other people who kind of like fell behind, not behind, just didn't do as many, say Christopher Lee, etc. But yeah, Donald Pleasance.
I was lucky enough, as I've mentioned to yourself, and you're probably sick of me going on, to meet John Carpenter, and I got him to sign a few things. And one of them was a Halloween comic, because I really the comic series for some reason very expensive, but I got the Donald Pleasance Dr. Loomis cover because it had multiple ones. And that was the one, because I gave him the book that I mentioned earlier, which is incredibly hard to get hold of. It came out literally a year later. I had a couple of DVDs. I got him to sign a few things. And it was that comic. And he just looked and he went, "Oh, Donald." And it was like, oh, yeah, you got to meet Donald, didn't you? You also got to direct with Donald many times. As much as I love John Carpenter, I do. He's one of my favourite humans. The idea that those two were in the same room at one point is incredible, with Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, holy shit.
I've just, whilst you've been speaking, was originally chosen to play Blair in The Thing in 82. But due to a scheduling conflict, prevented him from doing so. Therefore, the role went to Dad Budis, Wilford Brimley.
Dad Budis.
Dad Budis. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I think that the cast that they have for the thing is phenomenal.
Perfect.
And possibly one of those things, if you just change one thing about it, might completely change it. But I think Wilford Brimley's fantastic in it.
I think his play is probably where it needed to be. I don't know if Pleasance, he might have been too good for the role almost, if you know what I mean. He would have drawn focus.
It's a bit like E.T., because Harrison Ford was supposed to play a teacher. He did play a teacher in the film The Sings for E.T., but they thought it would be too much of a distraction from the movie. It would take you out of it from Elliot and E.T. and everything else. But yeah, I just thought that was phenomenal that sort of he was going to play Blair.
That's class.
But he didn't. But I think that would change the entire view or spin of the movie. But yeah, Donald Pleasance for me, my penultimate one that I would put forward.
Nice.
What about yourself? Your penultimate, your silver medal?
Silver medal, yeah. Oddly, I didn't have Donald Pleasance on my 5.
I was kind of surprised. Like, I thought you were going to go, you fucking...
Yeah, well, after you said it, I thought... So I probably might have pushed him. But no, my silver medal is somebody who I would love to meet and is incredible for a very obvious body of work. Bruce Campbell. Just everything he's in, I love him. Even Spider-Man, like Spider-Man, they're great movies anyway, but his cameos are honestly like the best part. He names Spider-Man even in it. But obviously the main movies that we're talking about and TV series would be The Evil Dead. He's the best B-movie actor of all time. He likes to describe himself. He's managed to get into the A-list really when you think about it, I guess. But
I you know what? I wouldn't want him to. Yeah. I wouldn't want him to be like an A-class. I like him as he is. I think he's quite self-deprecating. He officiates a lot of weddings as well. Where like he cuts like the wedding cake in half with chainsaw and a bunch of other stuff. It's just like he's owned being arguably the best B-movie actor that there is, and he's just so much fun to watch him play. And he's apparently one of the best actors in reverse. So for Evil Dead 2 in particular, I believe, there's a lot of stuff that they filmed in reverse. So that whenever they played it forward, it shows up differently, and he can like flip himself over on his front. So even though he's quite a big guy, he's able to just throw himself about like a rag doll, and I think that's fucking brilliant. Like I love Bruce Campbell, and he's one of those people who's got the voice, he's got the look, he's got the
he's got this oddly cheesy look about himself, an oddly cheesy way of portraying himself that sort of smashes through the cheese. He's cheesy, but fucking amazing doing it as well. He's not just like, I don't know, your uncle at a wedding cheesy. He's the sexy guy that crashed your wedding that you kind of want to dance with. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. He's so cool. And apparently,
like you might
go on. Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, go ahead.
Oh yeah, apparently he's incredibly nice to all of his fans, and that's a big deal. That's a game changer almost, because if you're going to be that way inclined, if you're going to portray yourself in a certain way, and you're different when you meet people, it can really destroy your body of work. Even I think honestly, your character comes out in your performance sometimes, and Bruce Campbell is Ash, minus some of the scathy comments and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
And he's got 2 hands. He's got 2 hands.
Yeah, now anyway, he grew one back. But Evil Dead 2 is honestly one of my all-time favourite movies. Just
I love him. I love him in Bubba Hotep.
Yeah.
That whole theory that Elvis lost his opportunity to come back because the impersonator dies, and he's just rotting in a care home with a black JFK that's been dyed that colour, like some old blind sharpshooter. It's so fun
out there.
Like I'm going, nobody, and I repeat, nobody fucks with the king, and then he just kills that scarab thing. It's so brilliant. It's so much fun. And if that was in the hands of somebody else, I think it would fall flat.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think him in the role of Elvis is fucking brilliant. But I love Bruce Campbell. I listened to him on another podcast. It was Nerdist, became ID10T with Chris Hardwick. And he's very knowledgeable about the Kennedys and about history and loads of other bits and pieces. And he's like done tours with people, and he says it's just so much fun. He uses terms like stooping.
Apparently, he's super
talking-
intelligent as well. Like,
Oh yeah, I think clearly he's very switched on.
yeah,
But the character he plays isn't always portrayed as being that way.
yeah.
But yeah, he's so much fun in anything that he's in.
He was announced like that fans are petitioning to have him play Mr. Sinister in an upcoming Marvel thing, and yeah, absolutely. You could cast him in anything, and I'd be okay with it. Like we were saying before, with the likes of Pleasance being replacing Blair, you could put Campbell in any role. Maybe not Blair, now that I've said it, but you could put him in most roles, and you'd be like, yeah, I'm sold. Because you know what he's going to bring to the role immediately.
And I love his affinity with Sam Raimi, because obviously they're both Three Stooges fans, and that comes out in a lot of the scenes that they do, all that kind of stuff. Like sort of the two fingers going for the eyes, and you put the hand up, and sort of noogies and all that kind of thing.
I need to.
Yeah, just loads of fun.
Have you ever seen a movie called Crime Wave?
I haven't.
Have you not?
I will have to. No.
It's a Sam Raimi film that Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are both embarrassed about, but it's fucking amazing. I don't know what they're talking about. Bruce Campbell in it I'm sure his character's name is the heel, because he just plays a heel, like a guy who is a heel basically, and he's class. Mm-hmm. He's really cool, and it's like watching a comic unfold. It's incredible.
Because I love his cameos in films as well. Obviously, we talked about Spider-Man. He's the assumed face of Darkman at the end of Darkman. So I think they've done.
Liam Neeson,
Liam Neeson plays the main character through it, and apparently Liam Neeson doesn't talk about that movie, but it's got Frances McDormand, Ted Raimi, I think's in it again. It's got Durant. I can't remember what the name of the actor is. But Darkman, I really enjoyed, because it's a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Loads of fun, really horrific, really good practical effects with a little bit of special effects. But yeah, give me the fucking elephant. But yeah, Bruce Campbell is the face of but yeah, he's the end of it. He's the face of Darkman at the end of the first movie, and that would be quite clever, because you could realistically recast the actor playing Darkman, because he just puts on other people's faces. Yeah. But yeah, he's brilliant in that.
But yeah,
I'm trying to think of any other ones that he's been in, but yeah, he's just Bruce Campbell's phenomenal.
Just whenever he does appear, you think, right, you know what you're going to get straight away. I loved the Evil Dead remake. I thought it was fine. It was really good because it's different. And at the very end, because I remember sat there watching it and just being like, that's awesome. At the very end, it suddenly starts to unfade, and you see Bruce's face. He just goes groovy. People were cheering. It was just like, you've watched this. Fucking get it. And I love the series. If you've not seen Ash vs. Evil Dead, I highly recommend it. It's a nice way to continue it. And they've announced a new movie at last.
Yes,
thank God.
Evil Dead Rises or something like that.
I think so. Yeah. But even in like
I'm excited for that.
Comic book form. I've got the Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, which apparently he had a hand in, like the way they wrote Ash. He was involved, and you can really tell. It's amazing. I don't know if England did for a hot air as well, but either way, they're good comics. The one thing that he doesn't talk about is, I think I mentioned before, Marvel didn't ask for his rights to appear in Army of Darkness versus Marvel Zombies. So if you actually give him a comic to sign, he will. You've made an enemy. And to make an enemy of Bruce Campbell, you might as well leave the earth.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was going to say, he's one of those people that people always say you can't find an actor that everybody likes, and I would have argued and said Bruce Campbell, except my partner hates him. I don't know why.
You don't like art.
But no, I love Campbell, and again, if he's listening, my number one, I suspect, is going to be very, if not the same as yours. So I don't know if
maybe not. Mine's Vincent Price.
Nice.
Again, another one that I had tattooed in my flesh.
Your flesh.
Sort of in my inner arm. So it's Vincent Price. His body of work, who he is as a person. And just everything else. He's just very likable.
Voice again.
We talked about it. Yeah, voice. The abominable Mr. Phoebes or Dr. Phoebes. I think it's Dr. Phoebes. The Abominable Dr. Phoebes is brilliant. It's just so good, and everything that he's in is phenomenal. House on Haunted Hill. This is just his body of work, his voice, just everything about him. Just he carved himself out a living being Vincent Price and being the best thing about every movie that he's in.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Callie, if you're listening, we watched Theatre of Blood, where she was in a Hammer horror movie. Have you seen it before?
Not for a while. I was a child, I think.
So he's an actor who basically gets panned by the critics, and then he allegedly dies. He then comes back from the grave and basically tortures the people. Correct me if I'm wrong. He basically gets at the people who critiqued his work, and basically bumps them off in the style of Shakespeare plays. And he's just having so much fun, and I think it's his favourite, arguably his favourite film, or his favourite Hammer movie that he did, and it's just so much fun. And there's a beautiful scene with him and I believe it's Peter Cushing, and they're both just sitting idolising. Willem's all covered in makeup and he's all smashed up, possibly because his character's getting killed off at the end of the movie, and he's just talking to Peter Cushing, sipping tea, talking, going, oh, I love an old haunted crypt, or something like a foggy castle or a misty castle, and you see them just geeking out over something that they have played a massive part in making magical. And he's just Vincent Price. I think one of his last movies he did is Edward Scissorhands, and I think part of the reason being, I'm terrified of Edward Scissorhands, and I've been told I body shamed him for having two sets of scissor hands instead of just one. But it's the whole idea that I think I'm afraid to watch it again, possibly due to being possibly reigniting that terror of Edward Scissorhands. But also that it's the swan song. It's the last thing that I believe that Vincent Price did before he died. I think I'm afraid to watch that because that was the last thing he was in.
It's like closing the door on him, almost.
Yeah. And I don't want to do that, and he's just a phenomenal man. He was I mentioned beforehand, he's such a consummate professional. He not only learned his own lines, he learned everybody else's. And in The Abominable Dr. Phoebes, he didn't have to learn the lines for the vast majority of the movie, because all he's got to do is flex his vocal cords, because he's not speaking, it's being done in ADR after the movie's being done. Be like, oh no, the line, what's the line? And he would be able to just go, your line is such and such, because he's so such a consummate professional. Massive friend of Christopher Lee. Apparently Vincent Price was a chess master.
Nice.
Christopher Lee was not. But there's a story he tells, it's on This Is Your Life with Christopher Lee, and he said he was in an airplane and somebody goes, I know who you are, you're Boris Karloff. He just goes, no, I'm not Boris Karloff. And he goes, oh, you must be Christopher Lee, or whatever it was. And he goes, no. And the guy didn't even ask me as to who I was. But yeah, it was just absolutely brilliant. But he was very, very good friends with Christopher Lee.
Could you imagine that? Just sharing a conversation with the two sexiest voices of all time as well.
Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and Vincent Price. I think there's a photo of them, and I think there's a fourth person in the room, and for the life of me I can't remember who it is, but it's just, it'd be like, is it Celebrity Come Down With Me? If you could pick like people, that would probably be it. And then possibly the voice of is it Peter Lorre? Who did the whole, I'm trying to remember Peter Lorre. He was another one who was like a horror background, where he did the, I'm trying to remember Peter Lorre. Yes, he was in Casablanca, but he was known for having that almost kind of breathy, creepy voice, yes, master, and all that kind of stuff. Right. But I think he was potentially might have been the fourth person in the room. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, Vincent Price for me is the boy. I could basically watch him in anything, listen to him reading the dictionary, and I would be enthralled. I would be excited. I would be drawn in because it's Vincent fucking Price.
Doesn't he do the spoken part in Thriller as well?
Yes, he is.
Awesome.
John Landis. But yeah, he's absolutely brilliant.
He just looks like
what about yourself?
An absolute gent as well, though. Like he's enjoying himself. He loves what he did. Unfortunately, obviously, he would have been over 100 now. But yeah, I'm sorry because again we're running out of time a bit. I had one last honourable mention before I go to my gold standard, and that was Anthony Perkins. I don't think he's celebrated enough. I think his portrayal of Norman Bates, which is the only real thing he managed to do because of that, is incredible. Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates is what he was remembered for, and people wouldn't act with him because they were so scared of him as Norman. Honourable mention for that. I won't go into it much more. But my number one all-time male favourite actor in any horror movie is Kurt Russell.
He was going to be in my list.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just. Is that based on one movie alone? Because I was racking my brain.
Yeah. Just the thing. He's a bit like Howard, because if Kurt Russell's in a film, I'm sold regardless. Now I saw Bone Tomahawk, which I would probably say was a horror.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I forget about that because I thought it was going to be like a Rudy Tooty Shooty.
Yeah. So did I. Yeah.
You've got 24 hours to get out of town, and to show you I'm serious, you've got 1 hour to get out of town.
And to show you I'm serious, I've shot you. You're dead. Get out. Oh my God, he's dead.
But yeah, I thought that was going to be like a Rudy Tooty Shooty one where they were going to go in, get surrounded by like these like sort of savages, primordial savage things, but then it's not.
But then cowboy
completely
out,
different.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's quite raw, to be honest. But I really, his performance in it, he's brilliant, because the thing about Kurt Russell, why I like him the most is, and it is purely on The Thing, mainly because everything else I've seen him in was the likes of Escape from New York, where he plays Snake Plissken, which is just he's the ultimate cool guy. You've got him in most Carpenter things, obviously, as well. Big Trouble in Little China. So he's very comedic in it as well. He's kind of comedic in Escape from New York as well. That's the point. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. So you think of him as, he's a bit action hero. He's a little bit like Campbell in as much as he's sort of a bit schlocky and relatable and nice. And then all of a sudden, The Thing, he pulls out one of the greatest performances in cinematic history. He's just straight. Every line he says is beautifully given, and his acting in The Thing alone is why he's number one. But the likes of, he's in Death Proof as well. Oh,
he's stuntman Mike.
Yeah, where he crashes the cars and stuff. And when you see him in, where we mentioned Bone Tomahawk, he's very versatile as an actor, and it's easy to forget that sometimes, because you with a Kurt Russell movie, people will think of maybe Stargate, and that's how they'd remember Kurt Russell. That's it. You think, oh, he's that character. Or if you like Escape from New York, oh, he's Snake Plissken. Where if you look at him, if you step back and look at him as an actor, he could do anything.
I would agree. I think he's been working since he was a Disney kid. He was in a film with Elvis Presley, and he kicks him in the shin. And basically then the rest of he was a Disney kid. I've probably mentioned this beforehand. I maybe probably told you this. Because he was a Disney kid, the last thing that Walt Disney wrote down in a bit of paper before he died was the name Kurt Russell. And he's been questioned probably without fail every year since it happened. Why are you the last thing that Walt Disney wrote before he died? And that I would love to know why. As to why was that the last thing that Walt Disney wrote before he died?
He knew.
Like what the actual fuck?
He's going to become president. That's why.
He's foresaw the future, and he's going. The answer to every question is Kurt Russell.
It's 42, Kurt Russell.
42, Kurt Russell. Rosebud. But yeah, that's just Kurt Russell. He's had a phenomenal body of work. He's been working for like 6 decades of consistent work. The Computer Who Wore Tennis Shoes, he did The Thing, obviously he Escaped from New York,
Santa
Big Trouble in Little China.
Chronicles, which
Santa
Chronicles.
Chronicles.
I kind of liked.
The sequel's got Goldie Hawn in it.
Yeah.
He did Captain Ron. It's absolutely loads of fun to play.
Oh, Russell and Hawn's, their marriage is the aspiration.
Not married?
Not well. Yeah, they were for a while. They separated though, didn't they? And they're still.
Nope.
Were they never
been
married?
Never married.
Sorry,
They
Mr.
met
Russell, if you're listening.
Because apparently the kids, so Wyatt, Hudson, and everything else basically said it would be weird if they got married.
Fair.
So Wyatt Russell, named after Wyatt Earp, who was an overlord, but he also was very recently. He's now the new Captain America in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
The internet's exploded over that for some reason. They really taken a dislike to him. Give him a go.
Well, anybody who's going to be portraying that character is going to be compared to Chris Evans. But yeah, they were never married.
Oh,
never have been. And the thing that they talked about going and doing it, and the kids are like, no.
Yeah.
But they met on Overboard.
Oh yeah, the one with, they're in a ship or something. Yeah, I've not seen it, but my dad mentioned it once.
But he's phenomenal, and he's like any movie with Kurt Russell in. My only complaint about it is I want more Kurt Russell in it.
Exactly.
He's what's very interesting is, and I think it's his love letter to it. So Quentin Tarantino did The Hateful Eight. Mm-hmm. The Hateful Eight is a love letter to The Thing, but instead of it being an alien, it's the imposter who's the one that's trying to bump everybody else off, who's the one who's trying to try and get this prisoner. And that's what it is. It's that isolation where you're in the snow, you can't get anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no technology, there's no anything else. It's just a case if you've got to try and have your wits about you to figure out as to who's the imposter.
Still see The Hateful Eight, mind you. It looks really good.
It's very, very good. It's quite long,
mm-hmm.
but I think it needs to be.
Yeah.
The locale is very much, it's in a cabin in the middle of nowhere in the west. Kurt Russell again, as always, phenomenal facial hair in it, and he's the best thing about the movie. I just wanted more of him in it.
He's honestly, and you've mentioned this about every other person we've named, if he's in the movie, he's the best thing about it, and he's why you're watching it. Even Stargate, like I don't even care about Stargate. I love him in it, and I love Stargate for it. I don't care about the rest of it. I've seen them. More Kurt Russell, please. Yes, that'll do. But apparently, again, he's very nice in real life, and that again enhances it. And if I ever met him, I'd probably cry.
You know what I would? I've said to my girlfriend that I would love to go and work, because Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell have a vineyard, and I would go and work at the vineyard for free for like a month or a couple of months.
Yeah.
You put me up in a little cabin, feed me, I'll work my arse off for you. At the end, all I ask is that I get to share a bottle of wine with Kurt and Goldie. And I reckon it'd be brilliant. And there's a phenomenal picture, and anybody who is listening, Google it, and it's Kurt Russell riding a barrel of wine whilst holding a bottle in one hand and a glass in the other, and he just looks so fucking happy.
he won that life. He's amazing. I love him.
But yeah, and I think how I came about The Thing is people told me about it, and I bought it. And there used to be a website called blackstar.co.uk, and then you could buy VHS. This is before the DVD revolution, and I bought it on VHS, knowing very little about it apart from a clip that I heard online, which was, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's angry and pissed off. It's weird and pissed off.
Yeah.
And that's the only context I had for it, and the poster. So I bought it on blackstar.co.uk, had it delivered. I waited every day, because it wouldn't be like Amazon now, where you would get it like the same day, or like first thing the next day, or before a certain time where you could track it. I just sat in the house hoping this VHS was going to drop during the summer.
Nice.
With pocket money I've got, or from a job that I did, going, I hope it drops, so I can sit and watch it. And I made all of my friends and I made all of my family watch the movie.
Nice.
And I kind of spread that love, that disease, that thing for everybody else to enjoy. And it's just a phenomenal movie.
It is.
And it's so quotable, and it's fucking brilliant.
In my opinion, it's my number one. Like, I love Halloween, and I wanted that to be number one, but you Carpenter, man, you son of a bitch.
Sneaky. But yeah, it is. It's. I could watch that I could probably watch that easily once a week.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't
because I wouldn't.
I watch that multiple times a year. Like my partner can't watch certain scenes because it still makes her skin crinkly. Like, she loves it, she thinks it's great, But when they, especially, it's the bit where they're going to use the defibrillator on the guy's chest and it opens up. Apparently, it just looks too real. That's such a good testament to, like, so weirdly real. Like, it's not real, obviously, and it's an alien thing.
Yeah.
But if that was to have happened, that's how it would look. And that's the film's perfect. There's not a fault I can pick with it, and there's no
ounce of fat on it. It's just fucking brilliant.
Every line's delivered well. In the end is open and should always remain open.
And I think it's Kurt Russell's. It doesn't have a huge amount of dialogue in it.
No.
Everybody else, obviously, because there's so many people trying to figure out what's going on. But every line that he says is brilliant. Oh, was it you're losing it?
Yeah.
And then he calls the chess wizard a cheating bitch and he pours a glass of J&B Rare into the chess wizard and just destroys it for everybody else.
Why I honestly think it works as well is in a lot of films there's a lot of wasted dialogue because you're trying to get into people's relationship, and I'm not just talking like romantic. It's people's relationship with each other, where that's the main focus of this movie. Because the relationship with each other, you're so in such a closed. We're not going into it because we will definitely review it at some point. Yeah. But the whole point is that you don't trust the next person. That's the entire point. So you're not wasting time having that as a subplot because it's your main plot, and it's just everything they do. It's all practical. So everything they say is to try and achieve a goal, and it's just Kurt Russell. His voice, his look, his hair, his beard. Oh,
he somehow makes what looks like, what's it? Not a poncho. What's like the
mullet?
It's like a sombrero. How does he manage to make some sort of wintery sombrero?
I forgot about that. Yeah, he does. I want one, because I want to look like Kurt Russell. Last little bit on it, because I swear we'll end soon. I promise. There was one Halloween, and I made a brand new friend for this alone. I went as Snake Plissken, and at the time I was a bit hencher. I'll send you the picture. You can use it on the Instagram. Have a little look. Bit hencher, dressed as Snake Plissken, walking around, pointing guns at people getting photographs. It was a horror convention, and I bumped into Jack Burton. We're still friends now, just for that. Kurt Russell brings people together.
He does. I was at you could have said stopping people in the middle of the street, just going, "Can I just take a moment of your time to talk about our Lord and Savior, Jack Burton, or Kurt Russell?"
They take their hat off and they're like, "Yes, you can."
I'm in. Where do I sign up?
I'll suck your dick, man.
But yeah, I'm happy with my top 5. I'm glad that you've mentioned the ones that you have. But yeah, there's probably a list of dozens of people that I would love to mention. Sort of those are in my top 5. There is other people as well.
Yeah.
I'll sit and kick myself and go, oh, why didn't I mention this? And it's not to kind of displace anybody. Just at the time of thinking about it, these were the 5 that I thought about. And I'm happy with them all, and I'm happy with the ones that you've picked. And I don't think there's any of them where I would arguably disagree. There's a few I'm going, Rutger Hauer, you fucking crafty bastard.
Yeah, on one film as well. Fucking.
One film alone has managed to secure a place in your list.
He's so good.
But I love Rutger Hauer, so I'm going to get amazing.
Yeah, I quite like this practice, so we can continue on doing certain things like this. So hopefully we'll do top 5 female actors as well coming up. We'll move on to clearly directors and things, which I imagine we'll share certain. I'm surprised we didn't have any overlap. And if I remembered Donald Pleasance, I would have. God.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed this, and sort of obviously anybody who does happen to be listening, any ones that you sort of feel as though it's been criminal that we've left out, please drop us a message or tag us in it with at Podcast in the Backseat. That is Podcast in the Backseat. Yeah,
we'll read them out. We'll name and shame you.
But yeah, it's been really, really fun sitting talking about these. I'm sure we could have went on for hours, days. But yeah, cool.
I want to thank everyone for listening to this show. Next week we're doing our review of Deep Rising. Looking forward to it.
Me too. It's going to be a fun one. I picked it because I wanted to do something that wasn't, you can say straight horror, but it's just a fun movie. You could sit and overanalyze it and everything else, but it's just so much fun. And it's something I'll revisit quite often. Anybody who is listening, if you want to listen ahead, watch it ahead, I believe it is on Disney Plus on Star. It's available to watch on there.
Yeah. thank you again. I've been your humble host, Matthew Hutton.
I've been your humble co-host, Wayne Alexander. Enjoy your stomach pounder and coke.
I had a stomach pounder the other day. It was moist.
Moist cubes.
Those shirts are going to be great. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.